Right now, big tech is quietly hiding $3 trillion in debt.
Yeah, trillion with a T. It's massive.
And the crazy thing is, they aren't hiding it in bad loans or, toxic mortgages. They are hiding it in raw physical earth.
Exactly.
Because, when we talk about AI today, it's so easy to picture something weightless, right? Just floating up there in the cloud. You open your laptop, you type a prompt into a clean, minimalist text box, and boom, magic happens.
Right. It feels entirely virtual.
But if you look at the stack of technology news sources we've compiled for you today, and this is from today, August 17th, 2026, you realize that the entire AI industry is basically a massive iceberg.
That is the perfect analogy, yeah.
The chatbots, the video generators, the productivity tools you see on your screen, that is just the tiny glistening tip of the ice.
The part everyone sees.
Exactly. So today, our mission on this deep dive into the source material is to plunge underwater. We're going to explore the multi-trillion-dollar physical structure that is holding it all up. Our goal here is to cut through the daily tech hype and connect the dots between massive financial shifts, the physical reality of AI, and how these forces are directly impacting, well, your daily digital life, your privacy, and your security.
It really is a necessary shift in perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the global supply chain maps and the data center blueprints that are rolling out right now, we're no longer watching a virtual software race.
Right.
That era is completely over. We're now witnessing a transition into a hard physical infrastructure war.
A physical war. And to pay off that war, these companies are going to have to change how they interact with you. But before we can even begin to understand the software you are using at your desk, we have to look at the jaw-dropping hidden costs required to build it.
Yeah, the scale is just hard to comprehend.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. Because a new Wall Street Journal analysis just dropped a massive number. They found that 9 major tech companies are holding roughly $3 trillion in off-balance sheet AI infrastructure obligations.
Which is just staggering.
Right. So we're talking long-term leases, massive chip contracts, financing arrangements, and none of this shows up in their conventional capital expenditure figures. But I have to push back here for a second.
Sure.
Is this actually debt in the traditional sense? Because to me, it's like a company claiming they're totally debt-free because they own a cheap company car, while they're completely hiding a 30-year ironclad lease on a fleet of private jets.
That's a really good way to put it.
How does this hidden $3 trillion actually change the true risk profile of this whole AI boom?
Well, what's fascinating here is that Wall Street Journal number completely redefines how we should look at big tech's exposure.
Oh.
If you look at a balance sheet and you see a company spending heavily on software research and development, you assume that's their core risk, right? You figure if the software fails, they just pivot to something else.
Right, they just write new code.
Exactly. But these off-balance sheet obligations mean big tech is locked into paying for physical infrastructure for decades, regardless of whether their AI models actually turn a profit tomorrow.
Wow.
The AI race is no longer just about writing the most elegant code or having the smartest algorithms. It is a battle for raw, physical earth. It's about securing copper mines, monopolizing high-voltage transmission lines, and hoarding industrial transformers.
Hoarding transformers, which perfectly explains this incredible investigation we have from The Guardian today.
Oh, yeah, the Microsoft piece.
Yes, they found that Microsoft has spent $280 billion just since 2022. They've installed 2.2 million AI chips globally. But the crazy part, procuring those GPUs isn't even the main bottleneck anymore.
No, not at all.
The real constraint holding them back is a lack of power availability and unfinished data center shells. They literally have the chips, but they cannot find enough electricity to plug them into.
Right. And that bottleneck is causing the entire industry to reshape itself. I mean, look at NVIDIA.
Okay.
They aren't just a company that designs and sells GPUs anymore. According to the latest reports, NVIDIA is nearing a deal to guarantee roughly $100 billion in credit for OpenAI's data center build-out.
Wait, $100 billion in credit, so NVIDIA is becoming a bank.
Basically, yeah. NVIDIA is evolving from a hardware supplier into an ecosystem financier. Think about why they have to do that.
Why?
They have to bankroll the physical data centers because if the concrete shells don't get built and the power grid isn't upgraded, NVIDIA has nowhere to ship their chips. The data center itself is becoming the product.
So it's this totally symbiotic, incredibly high-stakes ecosystem. And it's not just the power grid causing headaches, right? The hardware bottlenecks are shifting into industrial materials. specifically copper and these microscopic optical interconnects.
Yes, the interconnects are a huge piece of this.
Let's talk about those for a second. We have data projecting the optical interconnect market will hit $144 billion by 2030. But wait, I really need to understand this. Why is connecting these chips suddenly a $144 billion problem?
It sounds crazy, I know.
Are we sure that isn't just a bubble projection based on the current NVIDIA hype cycle?
It's a completely tangible demand,
Yeah.
and it all comes down to physics.
Physics, okay.
Yeah, when you have hundreds of thousands of GPUs trying to train an AI model simultaneously, they have to talk to each other.
Right.
If they communicate over traditional copper wires, the electrical resistance generates massive amounts of heat, and the data transfer is relatively slow. So the industry is shifting to silicon photonics and 1.6 terabit per second networking.
Which means what exactly?
Basically, they're using lasers to send data as pulses of light directly between the silicon chips.
Lasers inside the data center.
Literally lasers. The bottleneck has shifted from acquiring the brains of the AI to ensuring those brains can communicate efficiently at scale without melting the data center.
So it's not just about having the compute, it's about the speed of the nervous system connecting it all. That is fascinating. And the realization that physical infrastructure is the true moat in AI is clearly spilling over into adjacent markets.
Absolutely.
Just look at the Unitree Robotics IPO in Shanghai today. They are a humanoid robot maker, and their initial public offering was oversubscribed by 8,000 times. 8,000.
It set a star market record, and it tells a very clear story. Whoever controls the copper, the optical cables, the power grid, and the physical robotics ultimately controls the future of AI.
Because software isn't enough anymore.
Right. Investors are realizing that software is just the final weightless byproduct of a massive physical industrial supply chain. They're moving their capital out of purely virtual software bets and pouring it into general-purpose physical hardware.
But this massive physical reality forces a massive financial reality, right? To pay off that staggering $3 trillion in hidden infrastructure debt, big tech can't just sell standard consumer apps anymore.
No, a $10 a month subscription won't cut it.
Exactly. They have to extract massive, continuous value directly from your daily workflow, which brings us right to your desk and, more importantly, to your data. There is an absolute land grab happening right now in the enterprise software space.
It is moving breakneck speed because the enterprise is where the real money is.
Yeah.
I mean, Stripe is reportedly acquiring an AI gateway startup called OpenRouter for more than $7 billion.
$7 billion?
Yeah. That is a 5 times valuation jump since just May of this year.
And just to clarify for everyone listening, OpenRouter basically acts as an orchestration layer, right? I want to make sure I get this.
Yes.
It essentially routes a developer's request to whichever AI model, whether it's OpenAI, Anthropic, or Google, can handle it best and cheapest in that exact millisecond.
That's exactly it.
So Stripe isn't just processing your credit card payments anymore. They want to own the foundational plumbing for all your company's AI requests.
Exactly. If you own the orchestration layer, you own the toll booth for the entire AI economy. And Stripe isn't the only one scaling aggressively by targeting enterprise workflows.
Who else?
We're seeing Higgsfield, a 2-year-old AI video startup, just skyrocket.
Yeah.
Their annualized revenue jumped from $20 million to $700 million.
That's insane growth.
And they did it by abandoning general consumer creator tools and shifting entirely to enterprise content production. So marketing, corporate training, internal communications.
And it's not just video. Whisperflow just raised $280 million at a $2 billion valuation because continuous hands-free AI voice dictation is becoming normalized in workflows.
Right. Everyone wants frictionless input.
The goal across all of these companies is friction-free input. But here's where it gets really interesting, especially for you listening as you go about your workday. Friction-free input also means removing the boundaries between your private actions and the AI's awareness.
And this is where the privacy issues really start to compound.
Because ChatGPT is launching a new feature today called Computer History. The pitch is that it helps the AI recall the files you edited, the Slack messages you sent, and it gives you these brilliant morning activity summaries.
Sounds convenient, right?
It does. But they explicitly claim they are doing this by logging, quote, structured events. And they make a huge PR point of saying, don't worry, we aren't taking video or audio screenshots, but I have to step in here.
Yeah.
Even without a screenshot, it is structurally logging my Slack messages and my file edits. Isn't this a massive privacy nightmare disguised as a productivity hack?
It is the ultimate tug-of-war between convenience and surveillance.
Yeah.
And honestly, their PR spin about not taking screenshots is a bit of a misdirection.
How so?
When an AI logs structured events,
Right.
it isn't just passively looking at a pixelated picture of your screen.
Hmm?
It is pulling the metadata directly from the operating system.
Oh, wow.
It knows the exact text strings you typed, the precise timestamps, the recipient of the message, the file directory you saved it in. In many ways, structured data logging is far more invasive than a screenshot because it is already machine-readable, fully categorized, and easily indexable by the model.
Wow. Okay, so it's actually worse because they don't even have to do the work of reading a screenshot. My computer is just handing them a perfectly organized spreadsheet of my entire day.
Exactly.
And this ties directly back to why tools like OpenRouter and Attribute are suddenly so incredibly valuable. Doity just acquired the AI cost management startup Attribute for $65 million purely to map AI token spending down to individual teams and customers.
Right, because the usage is getting out of hand.
Because enterprise AI workloads are scaling so fast, monthly costs are threatening to triple within a year. Companies are terrified of going broke from their own productivity tools.
Exactly. Enterprises are desperate to manage the chaos, the exploding costs, and the massive data flow of these hyper-invasive AI models. They need a dashboard just to understand what the AI is doing inside their own walls.
Which makes sense.
And as these tools embed themselves deeper into your browser and your operating system, the friction between user privacy and tech giant control is reaching a boiling point. Like today, Google Chrome effectively removes support for the ad blocker uBlock origin through its Manifest v3 transition.
We really need to break this down because a lot of people use uBlock origin. What exactly is Manifest v3 and why does it kill ad blockers?
So Manifest v3 is an overhaul of how Chrome handles browser extensions. Historically, ad blockers used dynamic filtering. When a web page loaded, the extension could actively inspect a network request and block the trackers and ads in real time.
Okay, so it was actively fighting the tracker.
Right, but under Manifest v3, Google is forcing extensions to use a static, limited list of rules pre-approved by the browser.
Oh, I see.
It essentially strips the extension of its real-time filtering power and hands control of the network requests back to Chrome. This transition leaves Firefox as the only major browser still enabling full-featured ad and tracker blocking.
That is a colossal shift in the landscape. If you are using Chrome today to manage all these new AI tools, you are doing it in an environment that has structurally disabled one of the most powerful privacy extensions available.
Yep, you're flying blind.
So we have these hyper-invasive AI tools deeply embedding themselves into our most sensitive daily workflows, extracting our metadata to pay off trillions in infrastructure debt, while our basic privacy defenses are being stripped away.
That's the reality of it.
That means we have to look at how the companies building these models are actually managing safety and public trust.
And if you look at the signals coming from the corporate level, they're incredibly conflicting right now.
Oh, totally.
At the end of July, OpenAI quietly disbanded its preparedness safety team.
Quietly being the key word.
Right, and this was the specific group responsible for evaluating severe risks. And by severe, we're talking about models potentially assisting in biological weapons creation or executing catastrophic cybersecurity breaches.
Not just like generating a bad image. Real-world danger.
Exactly. They dissolved that dedicated team and distributed those risk evaluation responsibilities into their general product and research groups.
The timing there is impossible to ignore. They dissolve their dedicated, independent, severe risk team right as they are preparing for an anticipated public market push, a potential IPO.
Very convenient.
But at the exact same time, OpenAI is funding 14 global policy projects, handing out $1 million in grants plus model credits to outside groups to study AI's societal impact. It really feels like they are simultaneously stepping on the gas for commercialization, removing internal roadblocks, while outsourcing the ethical optics to think tanks.
It is a classic corporate maneuver. A dedicated internal safety team often creates friction against product release timelines.
Right.
So you distribute that friction out of existence internally while publicly funding external research to maintain a halo of responsibility.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, their main competitor, Anthropic, just reported a massive $11.5 billion in Q2 revenue.
$11.5 billion.
And that's despite suffering a 42-minute platform outage on August 16th that took down their entire ecosystem, like Claude, that AI, Claude Code, Cowork, all of it. A near total blackout for nearly an hour.
The sheer scale of that revenue is staggering for a company that young. But what really stood out to me was the statement from Anthropic's CEO, Dario Amodei.
Oh, the cancer comment.
Yes, in the middle of all this massive revenue growth and platform instability, he comes out and says that the public will only truly trust AI if it, quote, actually cures cancer. He is setting this massive, tangible bar for credibility.
He really is.
He's essentially saying, forget our benchmark scores on math tests, forget our white papers. You should only trust us if we deliver undeniable scientific miracles. So how do we reconcile these two realities? OpenAI is dismantling a dedicated severe risk safety team right before trying to impress Wall Street, while their main rival CEO says they need to literally cure cancer to earn our trust.
This raises an important question about how society actually defines corporate credibility in this new era.
Right.
As these companies shift away from being purely academic research labs and transform into massive multi-billion-dollar commercial entities, the tension between rapid product deployment and centralized safety oversight is becoming extreme.
Because they have to make money.
Exactly. Amodei is acknowledging a harsh truth. PR spin and policy grants aren't going to work long-term. The public is experiencing the bugs, the 42-minute global outages, the privacy invasions, and the environmental costs.
And people are getting tired of it.
Exactly. If the AI doesn't eventually deliver a historic, undeniable benefit like curing a disease, the public tolerance for the surveillance and the massive energy consumption is going to completely collapse.
And that tension isn't just a corporate PR problem. It is creating massive real-world vulnerabilities on a global geopolitical scale. If we look at the cybersecurity and geopolitical data from today, it is genuinely alarming.
Oh, it's a mess out there.
We have to look at how global ecosystems are completely bypassing traditional security blocks. There's a fascinating structural workaround happening right now with a project called World Liberty Financial, which, just for context, is a crypto project backed by Donald Trump.
Right.
And we're not endorsing any political viewpoints here, obviously.
Right.
We're strictly looking at the mechanics of this. They partnered with an AI platform called WorldClaw. Through this partnership, they are using a USD1 stablecoin to offer users access to restricted Chinese AI models.
Models like Alibaba, DeepSeek, and Baidu.
Exactly.
It's a brilliant, if highly controversial, use of blockchain mechanics.
How does it actually work?
Well, the U.S. government places strict geographic and financial sanctions on who can interact with or fund certain foreign technology, right?
Right.
But by using a decentralized stablecoin, which is just a cryptocurrency pegged to the U.S. dollar WorldClaw, has built a financial bridge. Users can pay for compute time on Chinese servers without ever routing money through a traditional regulated U.S. bank.
Wow. It shows how decentralized crypto can literally bypass national tech blockades in an instant. Washington can put up all the national security flags and IP bans it wants, but if an AI model exists and there is a decentralized financial tool to pay for it, that model is going to penetrate the global ecosystem.
Borders don't really matter anymore in that sense.
And that porousness is terrifying when you look at the state of global cybersecurity today. Just look at the outages and breaches from this one reporting cycle. First, a massive GitHub outage hit right during peak hours, totally freezing CI/CD pipelines for developers worldwide.
And for anyone unfamiliar with that term, a CI/CD pipeline is basically the automated assembly line for software. It stands for continuous integration and continuous deployment. When GitHub went down, it wasn't just that developers couldn't write code. It meant the entire automated factory floor that tests, packages, and ships that code to users ground to an absolute halt.
Right, nobody could deploy anything. And then at the same exact time, you have Microsoft's Patch Tuesday addressing 421 separate vulnerabilities.
421, just absurd.
And one of them is an actively exploited WinSock 0 day. And WinSock is the core Windows API that handles internet connections. This vulnerability grants attackers total system privileges.
Meaning they own the machine.
Meaning they get the highest level of administrative control over a machine just through its network connection. And then we see the real-world fallout of these kinds of flaws. We saw Clop ransomware hitting both GE and Philips at the exact same time.
Two massive companies.
These are industrial and healthcare giants. And they were infiltrated through a single, shared enterprise software vulnerability. I look at this and it's like living in a massive apartment building where every single door uses the exact same master key. If a thief finds the key, they don't just rob one apartment, they rob the entire block.
No.
But I want you to expand on this because it isn't just that they had the same key, right?
Exactly. To take your master key analogy a step further, The Clop ransomware didn't just unlock the doors, it allowed the hackers to change the locks on GE and Philips simultaneously.
Oh, wow.
Both companies relied on the same centralized supply chain software for their file transfers. When the hackers compromised that one piece of shared enterprise software, they instantly had a backdoor into hundreds of massive corporations.
That is terrifying.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you see the inherent danger of what we are building. We are centralizing everything. We have single orchestration layers like OpenRouter managing AI requests. We have single enterprise tools shared by GE and Philips. And we have centralized government databases.
Which are also getting hammered. Look at the data breach at France's General Directorate of Public Finances. 678,000 taxpayers had their identity and financial records exposed. Or the UK police data lapse exposing highly sensitive internal records.
Extreme centralization creates unprecedented single points of failure. The irony is that law enforcement and governments are trying to leverage this exact same centralized data for mass surveillance, but they're running into judicial roadblocks.
Right, the tower dump case.
Yeah. A U.S. judge just denied an FBI tower dump request. A tower dump is when law enforcement asks a telecom provider for the metadata of every single cell phone that pinged a specific cell tower during a given time frame.
Just scooping everyone up?
Exactly. The judge ruled that collecting mass location data for everyone near a crime scene, including innocent bystanders, is unconstitutional.
So we have this incredible multi-directional tug-of-war happening right now. The tech giants want to centralize all our workflow data to pay for their AI models. The hackers are exploiting that centralization to steal millions of records in a single keystroke. And law enforcement is trying to use that centralized data for mass surveillance while the courts push back.
It is a profoundly fragile ecosystem. The AI models you use every day are incredibly powerful, but they are built on top of software platforms that are riddled with vulnerabilities, which are in turn built on top of a physical infrastructure that is rapidly running out of power.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, as you navigate this space today? Let's summarize this journey we've been on. We started by looking at the iceberg. The $3 trillion in hidden off-balance sheet debt that big tech is using to buy up the physical world, the copper mines, the data centers, the optical networks, and the power grids.
The hard reality of AI.
Exactly. We saw how the immense cost of this physical infrastructure is forcing companies to build hyper-invasive enterprise tools, extracting your metadata and tracking your every click and Slack message under the guise of productivity. All while basic privacy tools like ad blockers are being structurally dismantled in your browser.
Right.
We looked at the glaring corporate contradictions, with companies quietly dissolving severe risk safety teams while publicly promising medical miracles to buy your trust. And finally, we saw how this extreme technological centralization is creating a world where a single software vulnerability can take down global healthcare giants, and where decentralized crypto can bypass international security borders in an instant.
It's all connected.
It is.
Yeah.
The reality is every time you use an AI assistant or open a cloud app today, you aren't just sending a prompt into the ether, you are directly interacting with a fragile, incredibly expensive global supply chain that is constantly under attack.
It truly is an iceberg. And as we consider the immense fiscal and financial weight of what lies beneath the surface, I want to leave you with a different angle to think about. Okay, what's that? We've talked extensively about how AI growth relies on mining physical copper and tapping aging power grids. But if AI requires this massive, multi-trillion-dollar physical infrastructure just to exist, what happens to the developing nations that are entirely priced out of the hardware and electricity markets?
Oh, wow. That's a huge question.
We are treating AI as a limitless digital resource, but the entry fee is paid in physical earth and gigawatts of power. Are we about to see a new, insurmountable geopolitical divide between AI-powered nations and AI-dark nations? And what happens to the global economy if half the world is simply unable to plug into the future?